Yo, what's good? History fam? Today we're diving deep into the life of the OG influencer, the guy who basically invented going viral before the internet was even a thing. Alexander the Great. Picture this, ancient Macedonia, 356 BC. A baby is born, and let's just say the stars were aligning for this one. This wasn't just any kid, this was Alexander. His dad, Philip II, was the king, a total beast who was already leveling up Macedonia's army. His mom, Olympias, was, intense. She literally told Alex he was descended from Zeus. Talk about main character energy from day one. No pressure, right? So, while other kids were, playing with rocks, young Alex was getting tutored by the GOAT philosopher Aristotle. Imagine your homework being set by the guy who basically wrote the book on, well, everything. Aristotle taught him all about science, philosophy, and medicine. But Alex's real obsession? The epic poem, the Iliad. He was a massive Achilles stan, carrying a copy with him everywhere. He wasn't just reading about heroes. He was planning to be one. Then, plot twist. When Alex was just 20, his dad gets assassinated. Tragic. But Alex didn't have time to grieve. The throne was his, but everyone thought this young dude was gonna fumble the bag. Neighboring kingdoms started getting bold, thinking it was their time to shine. Alex was like, hold my wine. He rolled up on his enemies so fast they didn't know what hit them. He secured his home base, showing everyone he wasn't playing around. The message was clear. There's a new boss in town, and he's not to be messed with. With Macedonia locked down, Alex looked east. His dad had always dreamed of taking down the massive Persian Empire, the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world at the time. It was a beef that had been simmering for generations. For Alex, this wasn't just a maybe, it was his destiny. He gathered his squad, the legendary Macedonian phalanx, and crossed into Asia. This was it. The world tour was officially on. First stop, the Battle of the Granicus River. The Persians were waiting, confident they could squash this kid. Big mistake. Huge. Alex, leading his elite cavalry from the front like an absolute legend, charged straight across the river. It was chaotic, it was risky, and it totally worked. The Persian lines shattered. This first W sent a shockwave across the empire. The kid from Macedonia was for real. He then rolls down the coast of modern-day Turkey, liberating Greek cities. Some were genuinely happy to see him. Others needed a little convincing. It was like he was collecting cities like Pokemon. Then he gets to Gordium. You've probably heard of this one. The Gordian knot. The prophecy said whoever could untie this ridiculously complicated knot would rule all of Asia. People had been trying for ages. Alex walks up, looks at it for a second, and then just slices it in half with his sword. Mic drop. Talk about thinking outside the box. It was a total power move, a PR stunt that screamed, I make my own rules. The Persian king, Darius III, was starting to sweat. He was like, okay, this kid is a problem. So he gathers a massive army to shut Alex down for good at the Battle of Issus. On paper, Darius had the numbers, the terrain, everything. But Alex had strategy, and he had audacity. He spotted Darius in the middle of the chaos and just went for it, charging straight at the king. Darius panicked, turned his chariot around, and dipped. He literally left his army, his treasure, and even his own family behind. The L was so massive, his own troops just gave up. Alex captured Darius's mom and wife, but treated them with respect, which was a class act that earned him major points. After that clapback, Alex continues his coastal tour. He hits Tyre, a fortress city on an island that thought it was untouchable. They told Alex to get lost. So what does he do? He spends 7 months building a freaking bridge to the island while under constant attack. The sheer stubbornness is iconic. Once the bridge was done, it was game over for Tyre. This dude built a land bridge just to prove a point. Next level petty. Then it's on to Egypt. The Egyptians, who were tired of Persian rule, welcomed him with open arms. They literally crowned him pharaoh and declared him a son of a god. Again. The guy was collecting divine parentage titles like they were NFTs. And while he was there, he founded a little city you might have heard of, Alexandria, just one of like 20 cities he named after himself. His ego was definitely not on silent. With Egypt secured, it was time for the final boss battle. Darius had spent 2 years gathering another even bigger army. This was it, the ultimate showdown at Gaugamela. It was an ocean of Persian soldiers against Alex's much smaller but elite force. It looked impossible. But Alex, the master strategist, pulls off another genius move. He uses a weird-looking formation to draw the Persian cavalry out to the sides, creating a gap in their center. And just like at Issus, he sees his opening and charges straight for Darius. And for the second time, Darius chokes and flees. The Persian army collapsed, and the empire was basically Alex's. He marched into Babylon, the richest city in the world, as a conqueror. The glow-up was complete, but Alex wasn't done. He chased Darius across the mountains, but before he could catch him, one of Darius's own governors betrayed and killed him. Alex, weirdly, was furious. He wanted to be the one to defeat Darius honorably. So he gave Darius a royal funeral and then hunted down and executed the traitor. It was all about respect for his rival. With Persia conquered, you'd think he'd chill, right? Go home, enjoy the spoils. Nah. Alex had this fire in him, this insatiable curiosity and ambition. He told his men they were going to the ends of the world. He pushed them further and further east, into lands no Greek had ever seen. He fought his way through modern-day Afghanistan and into the Hindu Kush Mountains, facing brutal terrain and fierce resistance. It was in Central Asia that he met and married Roxana, the daughter of a local chieftain. It was a love match, but also a smart political move to build alliances. He was trying to merge Greek and Persian cultures, creating this new Hellenistic identity. He even started dressing in Persian clothes and adopting some of their customs, which did not go over well with his Macedonian vets. They were like, "Bro, you've changed." There was major tension in the squad. Then he decided to invade India. At the Battle of the Hydaspes River, he faced King Porus and his army of war elephants. Elephants. It was the toughest fight of his life. Alex won, barely, but he was so impressed by Porus's bravery that he let him keep his kingdom and even gave him more territory. But this was the breaking point for his army. They were thousands of miles from home, exhausted, and they'd just fought freaking elephants. When Alex said he wanted to march further to the Ganges River, his men basically went on strike. They put their foot down and said, "We're done." For the first time, Alexander had to turn back. The journey home was a disaster. He split his army, sending one part by sea and leading the other through the brutal Gedrosian desert. It was a nightmare. Thousands died from heat and thirst. It was a low point, a huge L after so much winning. When he finally got back to Persia, he found that things were a mess. He had to clean house and deal with corruption. In 324 BC, he tried one last big push for his cultural fusion project. He organized a mass wedding at Susa, where he and 80 of his top officers married Persian noblewomen. He wanted to literally breed a new ruling class. His Macedonian soldiers were not feeling this at all. The vibes were off. Then, in 323 BC in Babylon, while planning his next campaign to Arabia, Alexander fell ill after a long night of partying. A fever took hold, and over 11 days, the strongest man in the world grew weaker and weaker. At just 32 years old, Alexander the Great died. At just 32 years old, Alexander the Great died. His final words, when asked who should inherit his vast empire, were supposedly, "to the strongest," which basically guaranteed his generals would immediately start fighting over it. Savage, even in death. And that's exactly what happened. His empire, stretching from Greece to India, fractured almost immediately. His generals, the Diadochi, carved it up into their own kingdoms, sparking 40 years of war. But Alexander's legacy was more than just his conquests. He had kicked the door open between East and West, spreading Greek language, culture, and ideas all across the known world. This new era, the Hellenistic period, would shape the region for centuries and pave the way for the Roman Empire. So, from a prince with main character energy to the conqueror of the known world, Alexander's life was a speed run of history that burned incredibly bright and incredibly fast. He was a strategic genius, a fearless leader, and a man driven by an ambition that knew no limits, a true legend. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this deep dive, don't forget to smash that like button, drop a comment with who we should cover next, and subscribe for more epic history breakdowns.